You said there'll be a lot of art everywhere, but the question is, what exactly is art? When I look at when I watch a TikTok video, let's say I watch 100 hours of TikTok. Let's do I watch 10 hours of TikTok
consumed a lot of art.
Okay. But did I just consume art? Now let's say I watched 5 hours of AI generated TikTok videos.
Yeah.
The 5 hours I put into that, is that an equivalent level of engaging with art as the 5 hours I would put into reading Hemingway's Old Man and the Sea? Are those both art, or is the deluge of content meaning that art itself is getting more and more rare? And added to that, is that a concern for you with respect to the human's capacity to understand and engage art for what it is?
Interesting question. Okay, so what I would say to that is there's a difference between good art and bad art, right? And that can be highly subjective, right? But there is a difference on that subjective level. So you might have an experience watching his TikTok videos that is transcendent, whether they're made by AI or humans. You might have, all kinds of epiphanies and discoveries, or find them fascinating, or, to me, it doesn't really matter whether it's AI generated or not, because there's another thing happening, right? It's not just the fact that it's not just AI generating, right? When you're looking at a TikTok video that's AI, and I have a TikTok channel with some AI on it, is what you're looking at is something that somebody worked on. They created it using processes that involved AI, right? But there's painters who use processes involving just splattering paint on canvases, right? Or just smearing their body or their genitals on canvas, and they put that up and call it art. So the process by which you do the art doesn't matter. The key is the person who says this thing, this piece, this frame, this bicycle, this urinal, I'm going to put this in a frame and stick it on my TikTok channel, right? That's the moment that creates it as art. It's not the process. So when you see stuff on TikTok that is AI generated or whatever, that's what you're actually looking as a human who chose to put that stuff up or created a situation where that goes up, and they made that choice. And that choice is an artistic choice. They're taking the object and they're curating it. They're taking this image or this movie or this music or these words, and they're curating it and putting it up there to share it and publish it, and sort of elevating it and saying, this is interesting. I think this is interesting, right? And so then you go and engage with it. And whatever happens between you and that experience, that's your own thing. That's art. There's definitely way more bad art, i.e. art that doesn't move me, that doesn't reveal anything to me, that bores me. There's way more of that than there is the other kind, right? There's also art that kind of titillates me, but doesn't work on a high level, spiritual level. There's all kinds of different types of art. And I think the provenance of it, whether it's made by a monkey or a man or a machine, is irrelevant. To me, it's all about what happened, the dynamic between me and that artifact. That's the, what makes it art is that somebody chose to publish it and curate it as art. They declared this is art. That's the only requirement for me, whether something is art or not. And then whether or not it works, that has to do with my dynamic with the thing. So, again, I think that question about is this art or not has been posed and answered so many times in art history. They put up a urinal as an art piece back in the 1920s. I thought we were past that. You know what I mean?
So what of a scenario where, okay, so you said some human decides that this was interesting, so they put it up. Now, what if it's a scenario where some human decides that this is the thing that will most accurately play into an algorithm that will catch and absorb a person's attention, not because it's actually good or interesting, because it's designed to hijack a person's attention to have them engage. And it's not the level of people who say, I'm moved by this art, but by the level of people who end up reacting as if triggered into it in order to drive
okay, well,
numbers.
that may not be art. That might be speech or political speech, maybe.
No,
that might be speech.
It could be any
I mean,
number.
You could
of
call
things.
that art or not.
Right. And then I engage this content. Let me finish my segment. I engage this content, or it engages me, however you want, to the point that even when I say swipe or scroll or see something else that might have been genuinely good art to me, I'm kind of dead inside to being able to be moved by that art because I've been so inundated with all this content that is attempting to catch my attention that I've got nothing left in me to really be moved by anything in particular. Ooh. Do you see that as a potential concern? Like I do.
I've never experienced that. That's interesting. I feel like that's almost like a pornography thing. Like I watch all this porn and now I can't get turned on by women anymore or whatever. I can't be turned on by a normal situation. It has to be all weird for me to like feel anything. I mean, maybe if you I think it's kind of interesting because like think of people who like do spend all their time in art, like in galleries and like just spend their time and obsessed with art. They do get these kind of exotic interests and I don't really get them. Like they're like, oh, this piece is amazing for these reasons. I'm like, really though? I don't quite get it in the same, So I get how like having experiences is going to drive you into a different mental state or ontological space. And then that's going to affect how you interact with artifacts, speech, but the idea that there comes a point where you're so affected, maybe you have to sleep. You're so saturated, you have to shut down. You just need to go to sleep for a while.
Take a walk in the forest. Like see some of God's art.
Yeah. I haven't reached that point. I consume a huge amount of art. I'm constantly watching stuff and looking at images and reading new material, and not everything is meant as art. Like a lot of stuff is just somebody's trolling or, the shit posting, or like not everything is intended. Not everything is being elevated to it, is being put on a pedestal. Sometimes it's just like, maybe it's not art. It's something else. It's political speech. So, but yeah, no, I'm not,
is political speech or social commentary not art?
Yeah. Well, I think it depends. It's, again, you can choose to include it or not. They're words, so you decide how you want to define it. Does it matter? At the end of the day, like, I think more is better. I do.
Okay.